Welcome to Diplomatic Passport here on Zimpapers Television Network, ZTN. Of course, this is your daily weekday COVID update show where we give you updates on what's happening in the rest of the world, in our region, and of course here in Zimbabwe in this new normal of COVID-19. My name is Robert Mkondiwa. Of course, we have been talking about various issues throughout this month. And today we're going to be focusing on breast cancer awareness because this month happens to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But as always, before we start, I will start by giving you an update of the statistics of COVID-19 in the country as availed to us by the Ministry of Health and Childcare. Zimbabwe now has 8,315 confirmed cases of coronavirus, including 242 deaths and 7,804 recoveries, which puts the national recovery rate at 94%. Now, 1,050 PCR tests were done in the last 24 hours and 12 new cases were recorded. Now, these are 11 local transmission cases and one returnee from Zambia. Harare remains the epicenter with 3,322 cases of coronavirus, followed by Bulawayo, which now has 1,631 cases. Now, as I said, as you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and an annual campaign to raise and increase awareness on the disease. Now, this drive is marked in countries across the world and helps to increase attention and support for the disease. There are about 1.4 million new cases and 458,000 deaths from breast cancer alone, for example, each year. Now, of course, breast cancer is by far the most common cancer in women worldwide, both in the developed and developing countries. And certainly we are going to be looking at breast cancer as this, of course, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, here at Zimpapers, we keep those affected in our hearts the most, and as we organize the Zimpapers annual Cancer Power Walk. Now, this is in partnership with Island Hospice, and it has been in existence since 2016. It is an advocacy platform meant to raise awareness about the national and global concern that cancer is. Now, this year, however, due to COVID-19 and the consequent lockdown restrictions for health reasons, which prohibit large groups of people from gathering, the Power Walk will be a virtual event with much focus placed on advocacy. Of course, a lot of walks and marathons have gone this route of going virtual. Now, to help me touch on this issue, I'm joined in the studio by Zimpapers Public Relations and Corporate Affairs Manager Beatrice Tonuzai, Sislesenkosi Mkondo, who is a producer here at ZTN, and also someone who is fighting cancer fiercely herself, and also Dr. Nam Satsikai from the Harare Oncology Center. Ladies, welcome to this discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Brilliant. I will start. Of course, I have said who you are, but perhaps just quickly identify who's who before we start talking about this very, very important issue and this very important case, starting with the lady immediately to my left.
Well, I'm Beatrice Tonuzai. I speak for the Zimpapers group. That is what I do. I handle all stakeholder relationships and I handle corporate social responsibility, which is why the Zimpapers annual Cancer Power Walk falls under my purview.
Absolutely. Thank you for sparing. I know it's a very busy time, especially now that we're in the run-up to this particular one, and especially because it's new, it's different, because it's going virtual, and there's a lot of logistics that you're really working around. But thank you for joining us. Next, the lady.
Thank you for having me. My name is Sislesenkosi Mkondo. I am a stage 4 breast cancer survivor. I was given a couple of months to live in 2018. And for me, this is a special interview because part of my fundraising for the medication which I believed helped me was done by ZTN, and it has helped me to stay strong. It has put me through this. I am happy to be here, and I would like to acknowledge ZTN for acknowledging me as a patient and not throwing me to the street, but actually bringing me in as a staff member and making me work and giving me value. Thank you.
And we're proud to have you, as always, as a part of Zimpapers Television Network. And Doc.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Nam Satsikai. I'm an oncologist which is also known as a cancer specialist. So mainly involved in treating cancer using chemotherapy, radiotherapy. So we work closely with surgeons that operate on the cancers, and then we go in to mop up any rogue cancer cells with the further treatments. I'm very passionate about cancer prevention because it is very difficult to treat cancer. As a lot of people know, a lot of cancers are not curable, more so in our setting because we're catching cancer very late. A lot of people are coming with advanced stage 3, stage 4 cancer, like you've just heard from Sihle, mainly because we are not screening for cancer. So I'm passionate about the October month especially because we raise awareness on cancer and get people to know that they can be screened and have cancer caught early. And I'm grateful to ZTN to actually know that, you know, you guys are for cancer prevention, cancer screening, you're fundraising for cancer, for palliative care. Thank you so much.
And we're proud to have you, of course, as a passionate person that you are in a subject that, of course, touches our hearts the most. I'll come back to you, Sihle. As a cancer survivor, how has the road been for you? Because it's a whole different matrix for us speaking from one angle to another, and you know, from the outside looking in. Being told that you've only got a couple of months to live, and then fighting fiercely as you are, and then fighting alongside peers, and then also being here today several years later and still fighting. And I actually understand you're just fresh from radiotherapy as we speak today.
I'm on my 9th section of 10 vials of radiation therapy. The cancer has spread to parts that were previously not found. So I believe that because of our setup and because medically, maybe as a country, we are not yet there. We need to focus on these things because we are losing a lot of talented people. We are losing a lot of breadwinners to cancer because I think we are not giving it adequate attention. It has been a tough walk, but like I said, ngingumanyati, and buffaloes just don't fall. We first of all kneel down when you shoot us. So when you bring a fight, you bring it on. So cancer is fighting, and I'm fighting right back. I have spinal problems that have come up now, and it's touched a part of the spine which I was hoping it would not touch, the cervical side, which is closer to the head, which means my control room is in danger of destroying the rest of the body. But again, this is a body. The person inside is what's important. So when I come here, I want to encourage someone to say, even if the doctors know their work, they're excellent, they're kind, and Robert, they're pretty doctors. Eh? They're pretty. So you meet all these nice people, and unfortunately sometimes they have to break difficult news. They did tell me that I had 6 to 12 months. I should put my house in order in 2018 in April. But I chose a different route. I chose to fight, and I chose to come public with my condition. And I got picked by ZTN for an interview, and I reached out to Hearts. People helped me by medication that my father would have had to sell his house for. And because of that, I believe that it strengthened me this far. But cancer is stubborn. So when I was coming out of treatments and now going back every 6 months, I suddenly find that I have a bone in my vertebrae that's half chewed. That's probably sitting on a nerve, which is why I have so much pain. But I don't wear pain very well. I wear my smile.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And those who work with you will attest to that. And Doc, you talked about the fact that we need more awareness, and this is probably where organizations like ZTN come in, where you come in, Beatrice, because perhaps people look at you as somebody who's doing what we know as corporate social responsibility. But we who know you passionately and intimately as your work colleagues know that you are very, very passionate about that. It's not the fact that it's a portfolio that you have to handle every year, that it's a duty that has to be, you know, gone through a right because you're at work. It's something that you have also adopted that's come close to your heart, because we all have, a lot of us have lived experiences.
My history is really, those who know me know that my name has been made from doing health communications. So for me, when we talk about cancers, when we talk about all non-communicable diseases, HIV, all these health issues, COVID-19, there are issues that are calling us to action. There are issues that must remain on the national agenda. And for us, you know, as Zim Papers, as a media group, I believe that we have been committed to ensuring that information goes out, not just to raise awareness, but sometimes to even lobby policymakers, you know, so that they put in place policies and laws that make it easier for people that are dealing with these conditions. We're talking about cancer now. I think if you remember a couple of years back, we were talking about HIV, you know, global emergency. For me, it's the same thing with cancer. So what you see with the work we are doing, as much as you say, we'll call it corporate social responsibility, but we believe we actually have a mandate. I mean, at a personal level, at a corporate level, to do what we can. If you look at this campaign that we're running with the annual Cancer Power Walk, it's really an advocacy campaign. The Cancer Power Walk is just one component of a broader campaign which saw us and Island Hospice entering into an MOU in 2015. Since 2015, we've been using our platforms, newspaper platforms, radio platforms, and yourselves as CTN, to talk not only about cancer, but all health issues. You know, as Sihle speaks, I hear strength. Strength that comes from having, you know, been on a stage where she has been able to share her journey, where she has been able to be a voice for people who are not able to speak. But I'm glad that as Zim Papers, through our platforms, we've been able to allow people to speak, to allow people to get assistance. Because when you go to our public health systems, I think on a weekly basis now on social media, you see someone who's looking for money to go and get a procedure, an operation or something, which shows you that treatment for cancer is largely unavailable and inaccessible. So what do we do as a country? How many Sihles are we going to be able to put on a platform where they can have, you know, someone hearing their story and deciding to help? Which is why we have partnered Island Hospice to say, as much as we're raising awareness and educating people on the need to go and get screening, they say early diagnosis saves lives. But let's do something concrete. Let's raise funds, because it's one thing to avail platforms on radio to talk about it, but how many people will you reach out to? So when we do this, we'd like to see many more stories of Sihles, you know, where at least someone has gotten something happening. So with this campaign, all that we raise goes to Island Hospice. And I'd really just like to encourage people to register to participate in the Cancer Power Walk on the 7th of November, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. This year, as you said, it's virtual because of COVID-19 regulations. So you can run or walk from wherever. Registration is free. We're not asking you to pay. We are looking for money through other means. And I would really like to thank our sponsors who have come on board. The People's Republic of China, MediRite Healthcare, Plascon, Fusatech, Alan Wacken Shepherd, Zoro, you know, coming through and saying, we realize this is a noble cause.
And what are you saying to other corporates who may actually just be hearing this for the first time, or who may have gone on a lull and forgotten and may want to actually still be a part of this?
Yes, we're still inviting sponsors to come on board. As you know, I think we've been sharing our account details. I'll share our EcoCash merchant code. You can just send through your sponsorship. Individuals as well in the diaspora, you know, people on social media have been so responsive, sending through their $100 Zim dollars, their 50. No amount is too little. When we come together, Robert, I believe we make a difference. So you make sure you register, donate, or do something.
Absolutely. And if they want to register, what platform do they go onto in order to register?
Okay, we've got our social media pages. At the moment, I think throughout all the press, all our papers, our registration details are now available. It's really just cancerwalk.zimpapers.co.zw. I'll take it once again, cancerwalk.zimpapers.co.zw. You can visit this page on Facebook. You can also go and follow on Twitter.
Absolutely. And Doc, when we look at this, we're in a different and a new era of COVID-19, which compounds the problem of cancer, for example. We, and I'll speak, Sihle and I, we had a crisis where when my mother had breast cancer, and it was
Senzeni, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes,
Beautiful Senzeni.
And we had to go for chemotherapy, and because there was COVID, There were new hurdles and other very everyday crises. There's no water, so you have to go back again, and you can't have the chemotherapy. Of course, there are no doctors, and that's something, of course, that came about around that time. There are no PPEs, and we're still trying to make sense of the situation of COVID, so you can't get your chemotherapy. And there are some people who actually came back and were talking about how at one time people needed a COVID-19 clearance so that they can actually access the center. And what sort of problems of that nature did you face? Because you know you're expecting your clients at a certain time and you're monitoring them, and you know they absolutely have to adhere. And then this creature comes along called COVID-19, and it disrupts the progress that you'll be making with your clients, and you lose some clients. For example, in my instance, I lost my mother on April 11, and I still have cancer treatment medication at home, which never got to work. And I'm sure you've got stories like this, a lot of stories like that also you observed.
Oh, I'm so sorry about your loss of your mother. Sorry about that. Yeah, as you just mentioned, we've been facing a lot of challenges. I can say in Zimbabwe these challenges have been for many years now, but now with the COVID situation, it actually made things a whole lot worse. We have shortages of treatment, chemotherapy drugs, and with the lockdowns, the travel restrictions, we're no longer able to get drugs coming in. So some of the drugs, patients had to actually organize to get them brought in, but we do worry even about the quality of the drugs from, how they've transported those drugs. So some patients couldn't continue to have their treatment because there were no drugs. The drugs that were available, because they were now in short supply, the prices, it went up. So that was also a problem. And then you find with the radiotherapy machines, the private center, the machines went down in April. So in the past, patients could travel outside the country to South Africa, to India for radiotherapy, but now patients were stuck. They couldn't go out for treatment. So you can imagine the situation, a lot of people that we lost that needed radiation, but just it was impossible for them to get that radiation. So we were lucky that in August, the Pariringatwa Hospital machine was fixed, so that is functioning now, but it's just the one machine that is working in Zimbabwe. So you can imagine the whole population, 14 million people, the population trying to all get treatment at the radiotherapy center. So the machine is overwhelmed. Long waiting times. I think Sitle was talking about having waited about 5 hours the one day for treatment. So, and these are patients that are in pain, that are, going through a lot of discomfort. So it is a problem. And then just even diagnosis of cancer. We're talking to some of my colleagues who were planning radiation for some of our patients. And the challenges that we're finding now is we're seeing huge disease. So with radiation, what we do basically is we encompass the area that we need to treat. So usually it should be less than 20 centimeters, but in most cases 10 by 10 centimeter area. So we're finding diseases that are over 20 centimeters in size. So the challenges that we're facing, because patients delayed getting treatment because they couldn't travel, the hospitals were closed, it's been a huge problem. So we're still suffering from COVID, and we're going to see a lot of issues in the following months. But we hope with such situations, with the fundraising and things that we're doing for cancer, that we somehow ameliorate the situation and make it better for patients.
Absolutely, and I've also observed that there are certain procedures and processes that you need to get assistance, especially from various hospices, and they include referrals from doctors and things like that, and you need a certain form filled out, and that sort of process. And because we were stuck in a process, you need to go to the hospital to get the doctor to fill the form, but we don't have the doctor, so everything doesn't fall into place. What can be done? What do you think can be done to disrupt that situation where we think, in order for me to receive you in a hospice, you have to first go to a doctor? We get that with the police, for example. If you've got a stab wound or you've been hit struck by a bullet, you need to at least have the police in it. Now imagine when you're shot and the police is not there and they're all on strike. And can we not treat the person outside of that bureaucracy? So what do you think we need to do? Because we had systems that flowed, and then all of a sudden came this pandemic, which just killed the processes.
Yeah, that is a problem. I believe as a nation, as professionals, we need to actually be flexible in the way we do our things. So you find Island Hospice has their forms and they've got their things that they require before they take on a patient. We need, I think, as a nation to actually come together, the different organizations, Pararingatwa Hospital, Ministry of Health and Child Welfare, Island Hospice, Cancer Association, all the organizations that are responsible for diagnosing cancer, treating it, palliating it. We all need to come together and find a way of, making sure that things are done. And in cases of emergencies such as what we're facing now, we find ways of, managing and having things flow without having the disruptions, because at the end of the day, it's the patients that suffer. So I'll give an example now. For you to have an operation done, you're told we need a COVID test. And that's $60 for a PCR test. How many people can afford that? And once you've had that test, you're told it expires after 3 days. And you've been waiting 3 months to have this surgery done, you have the test. So things like that, we should find a way of relaxing some of these rules and regulations that we have so that we have our patient at heart.
Absolutely. Now, we've had Sihle speak about her experiences, but perhaps just to tap into the experiences of another person just a little bit, we've got Rumbidzai Kanukangwe, a cancer survivor, who's going to speak on how life has been after cancer.
There is a new norm after cancer. You get to learn of a new normal and a new body after cancer. You can't be 100% the person you were before cancer because of the treatments. Chemotherapy is harsh, and the surgery, just the fact that a limb is removed from your body, it changes you, it weakens the body. Like, I constantly find pain on my shoulder, and after working for a few hours, your body just gives in and tells you you can't go further, you have to rest. So I would say that there is a new normal after cancer. Yes, you can't go back to the person that you were before. We are referred to as the high risks. They say that after chemotherapy, you have to take great care of yourself for about 5 years. And then it's only after 5 years that the doctors will say maybe there is no need for you to continue doing your routine checkups. So with this COVID going on, I was actually told that you have to take great care of yourself and always put on your mask.
Well, there you have it. We've got another positive story coming from the issue of cancer that we're discussing today. Of course, we're looking specifically at breast cancer. But doctor, for example, can you tell us how many cancers there are?
We have over 200 different types of cancers. So basically what cancer is a group of cells that become abnormal and they grow uncontrollably. So the triggers for that growth vary. Some people are born with that trigger, what we call genetic cause, so that's inherited cancer. So it's important for one to know their family history. So you can have a cancer that runs in the family. You say your mother had breast cancer, her sister, your sister, or it can be prostate cancer or colon cancer. So one can actually be born with that gene. For some people, it can actually be lifestyle factors. So about 90% of the cancers are actually due to lifestyle factors. So we're looking at, lifestyle choices, alcohol drinking. Alcohol increases the risk of a number of cancers. You're looking at throat cancer, cervical cancer,
I like how
breast
Beatrice
cancer.
looked at me when you talked about alcohol increasing the probability of cancer. I know.
Where is this going?
Yeah, it hits very close to home.
Yeah, so we have to be careful. Avoid alcohol if one can, or limit their alcohol intake. We usually talk about 1 unit for men or 2 units for women. So a unit is a tot of whiskey, so that's your spirits, or a glass of wine. And usually we say red wine is better. It's a healthier alcohol. So cigarette smoking also is another risk factor. So that increases the risk of a number of cancers. Okay, so you're looking at lung cancer, that's the one that's commonly affected. We're looking at cervical cancer, esophageal cancer, quite a number of cancers. Not exercising, just a sedentary lifestyle. We need to actually be aware of that and make sure we're active, especially for people that work in offices. You're sitting in a chair the whole day. You have to actually put in some exercise, whether it's at lunchtime, you walk for 30 minutes or an hour, or in the morning or in the evening. So we have to be careful. And then you're looking at dietary factors. The food that we take in can actually damage our cells and initiate the cancer process. So diet that is protective, lots of greens, so your vegetables. We have to make sure that each meal that we have has either a fruit or vegetable that's protective. And then try and avoid processed foods as much as possible, because the chemicals that are used when they're processing foods, they can actually cause cancer. And red meat, to avoid that. The meats that we find are better: white meat, fish, chicken. Yeah.
Well, after that minute of you talking about me, perhaps perhaps apart from, I've not even visited the gym. We've got a gymnasium here, which has I've never set foot in there. And you were talking about processed foods, and I was thinking about my lunch. Ooh. And it's sad, because the life we're living these days, because we've got this life on the go. A lot of things that we do mean we're going to get home and slump on the couch, and we really have no time to exercise. We've got no time to even pick the sort of food we want, or that's good for us. A long time ago, people would drive to Nam Satsikai, for example, look for affordable vegetables. I know we would look for even baby marrows and have all this good food, good protective foods, as you were talking about. But now we just think, I cannot do this, and how about a tin of marrows, and this is tin food. It looks the same. It probably sometimes tastes the same. And the horrible thing about bad things is they taste good. Yeah, so you're going to think, well, it tastes better when they put it in their tin. And there's a lot that's happening, you know, and it really hits home. Yeah. As time goes by. And when you talked about beef, red meat, and how I like it rare, that's something else. But we're going to come back to you, Sihle. I see there are little tins in front of you, which are not processed. It's got stuff inside that's not processed. I want you... oh, I shouldn't be so sure. Okay. But can you tell us what that is? What inspired that? And, of course, if somebody wants to be supportive to the cause, I know you're supporting Beatrice and the cause. I want you to tell me a little about that, really. Okay.
I'm not an expert on palliative care, but because I've been told that I'm almost at the end of my life and I was offered palliative care, and it means that people will take care of you, preparing you for the grave. Thank God that the book of Hezekiah, the story of Hezekiah, was written, because you can tell God, no, I also want my 15 years. So what inspired me, where I live, there is a certain beauty. I walk, I use public transport, and as I walk down, the air is different. So my hashtag is Hope for Sihle, because if I did not have hope for Sihle, I may not have made it. So I came with these are gifts, and they're also a challenge, and they're also a way of saying thank you. So I'll start with the thank yous. When I first went to Parirenyatwa, after I lost my organ, after I knew that we thought I was stage 3, the first person that took a pen and paper out is the beautiful doctor here. And she took my history. So as I listened to my mother narrating, no, 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 and I'm thinking, so why have I lost the breast? And she's busy, no, 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 no cancer in the family. These are special for me also because I met you and beautiful Senzeni, our angel. And the last thing she said to me was, I said, why are you crying, Mama? And she says, I'm worried for my boys. I said, your boys will be fine. You are talking 40. I have a 15-year-old. My oldest is 21. I can't be talking about the grave. I need to live. And I have a thirst for support to make sure that happens. My spirit can fight, but the physical body needs the experts, needs the people who can bring in the finance. That's why I never stop talking about cancer. I talk to people with kids scan. I see little boys coming for radiation. Tiny little men who should be kicking balls. It's soccer season. They are lying there. You ask, no, he's number 19. So he's going to be there for 4 hours. Can I speak in Shona? I can't go to Tarisai. Some people are really in a bad shape. It's traumatic for children. So when we do these things, yes, breast cancer, unfortunately, I think because it's the second main killer for women, we have to take note because women are our nurturers, we are mothers. But I look at all that and it breaks my heart. But when I come with you and I know I'm sitting across a man who has walked with a special woman in his life right to the end, and I know what her last words to me were, I feel so honored. I look at Beatrice running around, making sure that this whole world is contributing to Zimbabwe. And I say, you know what? If someone who left for the diaspora to make money for their family is going to take $1 US, I believe there are about 3 million Zimbabweans outside officially. If those 3 million Zim people were to contribute $1, besides their friends and their connections, we can buy another radiology machine. People don't have to be traveling from Chipinge to Harare, Bulawayo Harare, Vic Falls Harare. For one machine, they have nowhere to sleep. When they come here, relatives are hard pressed. They are trying to run around to make money, but at the same time, they have a frail relative who they would like to see alive. And they are spending time sitting on a bench because we have one machine to radiate. Incomes are lost. There is no food at home. This very same patient needs more special food than everybody else. And that food is the most expensive in the family's budget. They still have to find bus fares just to get to Harare. So for me, it's a huge honor to see people come out and say, we want to support the cancer cause because the fight is big. We might think it hasn't touched us. It's touched you. It touches you every day, sorry. And B, I don't know about you, but I don't know, but it should touch you because you are working with palliative care. Your contribution is towards people who are on their way to the ground, which is even more difficult. So these are aloe plants. They don't need to be watered every day. They watered my spirit. I can look at them and say when I come back home in the evening, if I come back home and they are not watered, the next day they still look pretty. So you find that I didn't put shells, guys. I haven't been to the beach in a long time. Steve Harvey, I hope you're listening. So, Beatrice, please may I give this to you. This is for you. But the ones that I brought in the box, was hope for Sihle. Until a man I pray with said to me, no, I saw your FB, you said hope for Sihle. There must be hope for cancer. And I corrected that error. There must be hope for cancer. HIV, people will tell you live with it, and people are happily living with it. And corporates are happily giving lots of money to HIV and AIDS and other causes. But when it's cancer, we are written off. We are stage 4. Prepare. Yeah? It can't. We want people to have hope. We want people to be people until God calls us. We are not dissing what the doctors are saying. No, they are right to tell us. We must be warned because with information and knowledge, it helps you make a decision. Robert, this I brought for you for beautiful Senzeni.
Thank you.
I walked with your mom and I was hopeful. Her time came, I have someone to blame. I hated COVID because I knew the chances she missed. So please, take care of Senzeni's beautiful plant.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Dr. Tsikai, when I arrived at Paris, I didn't know they were beautiful souls. I thought doctors were harsh people that just operated and injected us. And
what you did, my dear. You're a senior person, but you came for me. I can never ever forget that. I'm ever grateful. Please try and look after my little aloe. It gives me hope, and it's yours. There's someone who's not here, and she's going to kill me. I stand killed. And before you kill me, Nam Satsikai, please make sure I interview Christian Amampo, and that I have lunch with Yvonne Chaka Chaka, and that I have a discussion with Oprah Winfrey, and Steve Harvey. I still want to see you. Before that happens, please don't kill me. Make those arrangements, then you can kill me. This is for you. You are a special woman. I came here as a cancer patient, just looking for money. And you met me on the street. You remembered my face. You remembered my story. You said, let's have a chat. You gave me to people. They did not dish me, but they found out that besides the cancer, I have a brain and I have a work ethic and I'm willing to push it. You gave me a chance. And Zim Peppers, I thank you for accommodating people on the deathbed until they're out of the deathbed. This is for Nam Satsikai. I really applaud just that recognition that she did and the fact that I am here to work. I'm sorry to make you see my tears, but it's an emotional one. I sat here with Itai. I told them about my awesome 3 people that were young. One was in primary school, the others were in high school. I have someone at university and I have someone about to write O-levels. If I can't be thankful for this place, then I would have lived for the wrong reasons.
Thank you for that impassioned talk with us, and I also want to apologize to the makeup artist. But I knew this moment would come, and that you've been this strong so far is an absolutely beautiful thing.
Sorry, can I just finish? Beatrice, what I did was, I don't really eat a lot of processed food, but because of COVID and the shopping arrangements, I did let my kids have baked beans, and I kept the tins specifically because I'm someone who doesn't think we should waste. I kept them. I said there will be a cause. I had my ribbons, and the cause is breast cancer for me, and it gave me hope. Instead of killing me, it gave me hope that I can still go on, believe it or not. So these tins, I filled them with the aloes from home. But I want you to take the ones that are not on the table. If there are any of your workers who want to take them in raffle for fundraising, even if the cause becomes specifically not Island Hospice, because that is from Hope for Sihle, please auction them if you can. If you don't auction them, feel free to give them to those people who will participate, especially if you have an old person who is the age that is registered the oldest, who comes out. Please find out where they are. If I have to post the plant myself and get the clearance because they're not in Zimbabwe, please let me know if you can do it. I will try and find someone to help us. If you have the youngest person in that run and they have done well and you want to award them, please, if they are not in Zimbabwe, I want to try and get someone else to help me with postage and let them get the hope that we want for cancer, or anyone else that you choose. Even for Island Hospice, you can give them one to thank them for what they do when people are at the end of their lives. Because all your relatives, their hearts will just be looking at a loss. And it makes people lose focus on life. But God gave us a life to help each other up every day. Sorry, Robert,
it's all right, because we really needed to know. We needed to know about these because, of course, if you're watching from wherever you are, we've got a couple. I'm going to be telling you about the number that we've got at the moment, and if you want even to bid for them and put the money towards Beatrice's kitty, that's also going to be absolutely fabulous, and that's going to help us quite a lot. And what you know and see is a very emotive and emotional issue that we're dealing with. Before we close, I'm just going to look at another issue, and we've got Itai Bopoto, who's going to talk about breast cancer from a different perspective, because while we always seem to message around breast cancer and push the idea of women, we do have that number of men who also have to go through having to deal with breast cancer themselves.
What happened is a friend of mine, we were together in Namibia, migrated to Joburg, and around October 2017, I phoned him just to find out, TJ, how are you?
Yeah.
That's when he told me, Itai, I'm bedridden. I've got cancer of the lung, of the liver, sorry. I got shocked. Then, wanting to help my friend, I came over, checked on my internet, trying to help my friend. That's when I bumped onto this breast cancer in men. So I read the article. And after that, that's October. November, I developed a small lump under my breast. It was so small. But having that information that I got from the internet, I said, no, it's no good. Let me rush to Highlands Clinic.
Mr. Bopoto, what can be done to raise awareness on breast cancer?
Oh, I think it should be done monthly and not wait for the month of October, because it's a year. Anything can happen. But if it's done monthly or something like that, you create more awareness. People have got very short memories. And a year, something can happen to people.
All right, and what can you say to those people that have been diagnosed with breast cancer that are going through the worst times right now? Just a word of encouragement to them.
Yeah, the best thing is they should go for treatment if it can be done. If they've got the finances, the best thing is medical doctors and medical hospitals. And if the doctor prescribes something, the best thing is to stick to it. It's lengthy, takes time, but I think there is no shortcut to cancer. There is so much given to other illnesses like HIV, but cancer is sort of ignored. I don't know this time, but the time I was ill, I felt neglected by, you cannot get any assistance from the government. Now, especially my age. In other countries, they would understand. If you get drugs from central hospitals, they are not as expensive as from the private sector. So government intervention is very important. And setting up something like, we have got the Cancer Association, and then Reach for Recovery. All of those groups are important where people share ideas.
So there we have it, a testimonial coming from a man who's also had to walk that road personally of breast cancer and, of course, responding to breast cancer. And I think, Beatrice, that's another thing in the messaging that we need to address. When people talk about October, about the pink ribbons, there's this demographic that thinks, you know what, it's none of my business. It's not going to affect me because I'm a man, and clearly that's something that people would not know. Now they do. Some people who didn't know now know they may, be vulnerable. And also the story that Sihle was talking about, my personal story, was that we look at cancer as female. It's got no sex. It's a human problem. It's not a female problem, because around that woman were 4 sons, and in that story was only one woman at the core. So it may not affect you personally or directly, but you are affected because you're going to get close loved ones. As a communication specialist, what do you think we need to do to make sure that those people who think they're outside that demographic to know that we are always within the same war, and this is a battle for everybody out there?
I think it's important to talk about all the cancers. If you look at what we have been doing as Zim Papers throughout this advocacy platform, we have Cancer Association, we've got Island Hospice, we've got quite a lot of organizations going on to our platforms on StyFM, on Capital KFM, on a weekly basis, just talking about the different cancers. And also with the Cancer Power Walk, from the onset, as much as our Power Walk always happens in the first week of November, which is just after October, it is not really about breast cancer. As much as we will honor and respect Breast Cancer Month, our campaign is about cancer. So whether it's cancers that affect children, it's cancers that affect men, we've always been clear that even when we invite people to come and participate, like now I'd like to invite the men, the fathers, the policymakers, because sometimes as much as men might not really think they are affected, I mean in terms of them actually also getting cancer, they are the ones who are responsible for the budgets in your corporates. They are the ones who are policymakers in government. In most of these health institutions, they're businessmen. So we want men on board. But however, men should never go around thinking that they are not at risk. We have seen the rise of colon cancers, of prostate cancer affecting men, you know, Kaposi sarcoma and all the other ones that I've learned as I've done health communications. So even on the 7th of October, I am appealing to the men.
November.
On the
It's day
7th
after
of
my
November,
birthday, by the way.
yes.
It's day after
Let
my
the men
birthday.
come out. Let them not think it's about women.
I say it's the day
you
after
know.
my birthday. Don't forget that.
Okay, I hear you, Robert. And we've also got Zumba, hey, from Zoro. Zoro
Zoro,
has
yes,
partnered
yes.
with us since the beginning. From 2016, he comes at no cost. He's also doing this for cancer. But I think if you remember when we've had our physical walks and runs, we've seen the fathers come out with their children, with their
Absolutely.
wives, with their partners. And that's the same spirit that we want to see this year. So I'm just saying to men, you heard, even breast cancer affects you, but it affects you because like Sitle said, at family level, personal level, I've actually got a sister with breast cancer now. I think right now, each conversation I have with a friend, I'm hearing about someone or other. So this is calling all of us to action. I really also just wanted to say to the corporates, let me just share Pauline Matanda's details because she's our contact person. If you'd like to sponsor, if you'd like to donate, please get in touch with Pauline Matanda on 0715 679 405. I'll take that once again, 0715 679 405. If you have missed it, just grab any of our publications tomorrow and you'll see her details. Our EcoCash mission code, Robert, is 019201. 019201. We've got FBC account, we've got a Nostro account. You can also visit any of our social media handles or any of our newspapers and you'll see those details.
Well, thank you so much. I was actually going to prompt you to give those to us once again. But of course, if you've always been following Diplomatic Passport, we've had to run a bit out of our time because as you could tell, this was a very important talk. A talk that we had promised you, a talk that we were pushing for a bit so that it would come very close to the Power Walk. And certainly it has come, the day has come, we've heard a lot and we've learned quite a lot. And just to say, ladies, thank you so much for coming. And these, I remember Mr. Bopoto in that little clip that we shared, he kept saying one of the things is, don't wait for October alone, it's a whole year. Keep getting tested, keep going out there, keep at it. And this is a concerted effort that we need to respond to, as Beatrice had said. And certainly let this be the beginning here on ZTN of an even more vigorous campaign and even more vigorous discussions as we go forward. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you ladies again.
Thank you so much for
having us.
Lovely. And thank you for being here and joining us in this talk that, of course, has touched our hearts the most, and certainly some of us had never thought we could be able to talk about issues to do with cancer because of loss, but sometimes your strength comes straight after that, and sometimes we become fortresses, as have I. Have a great evening, and of course we'll see you again tomorrow on Diplomatic Passport. I have been Robert Mkandiro.